My name is Mike McGee. I'm a letterpress printing teacher at the San Francisco Center for the Book, and I'm here to teach some of my students how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you want more information on the San Francisco Center for the Book, we're a San Francisco nonprofit who teaches book arts related disciplines including binding and letterpress printing. We can be reached at www.sfcb.org. Okay, let's start out with the tools we're going to need to complete this project. The first is a bookbinding needle. This is actually an embroiderer's needle that I got at a fabric supply store. You just need to make sure that the eye is large enough to allow you to thread your bookbinding thread. This is a linen thread, it's pre-waxed. You can buy it either waxed or unwaxed. With beeswax on the side, you just run the thread across the beeswax and it gets a little bit sticky. And you're going to thread that just like you would any normal needle. You're also going to need something to help you fold it. This is a bone folder. It's made out of, I think it's usually deer or elk bone. You can also buy a vegetarian version that's made out of Teflon that has some benefits over the traditional bone folder. If you don't want to go out and buy a bone folder, I think they run $7 or $8 depending on the size. And the Teflon ones, the last I saw, were $12 or $13. You can use anything that's relatively hard with a rounded surface. You wouldn't want to use the sharp corner of a knife to do the folding, but something nice and blunt works well. To set up the fold, all you have to do is put the corners together, just line them up the way they should be when they're folded and hold them in place. Take the bone folder and stroke it across from the cut edge towards the crease and create one first crease. Slide across and back. You actually need to be careful when you do this so you don't press too hard as you draw it back. You're just putting enough weight to create the crease. If you do press too hard, what you can do is actually polish the paper. You take some of the texture out and it gets a bit of a shiny surface. I actually did that here. You probably can't see it on the video though. Now the project that we did in my last class had some perforation, so you're going to use a little bit of a different technique to get the crease right in that. What I did was I lined it up with my hand and I just started the crease a little bit just to give it a little guidance because there would be a danger if you use the regular folding technique that you might break the perforations. Once you've done that, you can do the regular technique and fold it as you would normally. The project that we did was a book of postcards, and you want to make sure that all of your postcards are arranged so that the front of the card will always be in front of you as you flip through the book. Even as you get to the back of the cards, they were printed so that it would always be on the front, and the postcard information would be up top. Now to actually bind it, because this cover sheet is slightly larger than the interior sheets, you want to make sure that you line it up so that the cover is centered around the interior sheets. You have an even margin. And open it up to the middle page. Once you've done that, you want to punch 3 holes all the way through, one right in the middle, and you can just eyeball it, and it's really up to you how accurate you want to be. And it's a good idea to do it with the cards set up in a V, so you really make a hole straight through the middle of the crease on all, this is actually 5 pieces of paper. You want to make another hole about 3/4 of an inch from the top, and make sure that goes all the way through, and 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Now as a backing, you can really use just about anything that you don't mind damaging a little bit. I'm using an X-Acto self-healing cutting mat, but you could use a cutting board or a stack of paper, whatever you want to do. There's 2 ways to do this. One is the method that I'm going to do here, which is to try to hide the thread as much as possible by having the knot and the tails of the knot on the inside of the book. If you want it to be a decorative element, maybe if you selected some colored thread, you can actually make the knot on the outside of the book, and that can look nice as well. The only thing you would change in making that decision is where you start. So because I'm going to start on the inside, I'm going to have my knot on the inside rather, I'm going to go ahead and start on the inside, and I'm going to feed through the middle hole and pull my thread through until there's 2 or 3 inches or so of tail hanging there. The only determining factor as to how much you should leave is you want to make sure you have enough that you can easily tie a knot. So if you've got big chubby fingers like I do, you might want to leave a little bit more. And of course you want to make sure that you will have enough thread to make the full trip. You then go to the outside and fish your needle through the outside hole. This can be a little bit troublesome sometimes to find all of your original holes, but you'll get it. And you go ahead and pull that all the way through, and nice and taut. The next stitch, you're actually going to skip the middle hole and go all the way to the bottom, and pull that through and tight. If you're dealing with more fragile paper, you certainly want to be cautious not to pull too tight and create a tear in the paper. Now, to finish this, we're just going to come back through that middle hole. And you'll notice right now that my tail is off to your right-hand side of the thread. When you come through the other side for your final stitch, you want to make sure that your tail is on the opposite side of the thread. And the reason we do that is we want the knot to wrap around this middle thread, locking everything in place. If that weren't the case, a simple pull on these two stitches could pull the knot through the hole and your binding would come apart. So once you've done that, you can kind of go through and make sure that everything is relatively taut. We're just going to tie, actually, a granny knot. If you tie a square knot, which is right over left, left over right, what ends up happening is the tails go off to the left and the right of the thread. And that's fine if you want it that way, but we're going to tie a granny knot, which is right over left, right over left. It's actually a common mistake when Boy Scouts try to tie a square knot. And that way the tails, you'll see, will run vertically along the spine. So, right over left and through, and right over left and through again. And the natural tendency is to have that follow the vertical spine of the book. Once you've done that, you can just give these a snip, trim it as close as you want. Because of the wax, the knot will really stay intact pretty well, even if you trim it very close. But I would leave a 1/4 inch or so at least. Certainly, if you're going to have your knot be a decorative element on the outside of the book, you can tie it however you choose and leave them as long as you'd like for your artistic impression. So that's it. That's how we made this 3-hole pamphlet stitch. It's a great way to put together small books of poetry, books of letterpress samples, wedding programs, and you can do a lot with the options of different colors of thread and paper that are out there to make a really beautiful book. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you got what you wanted to out of it. And once again, if you have any questions or if you have any interest in the San Francisco Center for the Book, we can be visited at www.sfcb.org. Thanks a lot.